admitted as an honorary freeman of the city, and that his name be enrolled on the freeman's roll.
I would like to congratulate Councillor Whitehead personally, as well as on behalf of the Council and citizens of Chelmsford. This rare honour is very well deserved, and we are all grateful for your dedication to our city and your many years of service to the people of Chelmsford. I would like to invite Councillor Robinson to speak. Do sit down.
And thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and good luck for your chairing this evening. It's odd. I do want to call you Roy, but it's sort of more formal, and some Councillor Whitehead, isn't it, really? Can I start with just a little apology? Because back in 2015, just after the 2015 local election, I was sitting there and he was sitting here, and I congratulated him on being the Nicola Sturgeon of Chelmsford politics, because he'd just got 51% of the vote and 85% of the seats, so similar to Nicola Sturgeon's success in Scotland. The apology is comparing him to Nicola Sturgeon because he's still here. And I think that just does point to Roy's longevity and public service to our district. Roy was leader for all of the 16 years that the Conservatives were last in administration. And I think I'd also refer, given that it's exactly 10 years since Jo Cox died, her famous phrase about there's more that unites us than divides us, and that's certainly true between me and Roy and our groups, because over the last 40 years we've sort of shared, my group and his group has shared the administration of Chelmsford Borough and then Chelmsford City Council. And I think the fact that there is a lot in common between us has meant that we've been able to look at the long term. And I think when we look around us, literally in here, but also around the city, we can see Roy's legacy to our city. So some of the major projects which have come about recently are because of the vision that our two groups actually have set out. So we had a vision for Waterside, which then Roy started to put together, buying the bits of land around the gasworks, and now we've got the job of sort of finishing the job. Frustrations of the property market have frustrated that a little, but we've made progress. The vision for a new station was talked about for many years. We put it in the local plan in 2000, and your local plan actually made progress with it. And between the City Council and the County Council, we were able to deliver that new station. And so I think that's just a few examples of where the strong, steady leadership over Roy's period in office have led to some really significant achievements and a legacy that we can physically see the legacy in our city today. And it's what helped get a city status in 2012. Roy's also been a long-standing parish councillor, often chairman of the parish council, and involved with other parts of our Chelmsford life, including the Twinning Association. And so I think I can propose that we endorse the motion we passed at the last council meeting, and I'm delighted to support the nomination for Roy as Freeman of the City, to join Frida's name on the Honours Board. And then as perhaps we can say unfortunately, as the Chelmsford City Council looks set to come to an end, you'll still be a Freeman of the City, and we're going to do our level best to ensure we retain city status. And we'll just have to find you some sheep that you can herd across Bow Bridge, because it is a bridge that goes somewhere, despite what some people might say. So I wish you well. It's not like retirement. We've still got a while to go before Chelmsford City Council sort of shuts up shop. But I think it's appropriate to recognise Roy's decades of public service by awarding him the title of Freeman of the City of Chelmsford, and I'm very happy to support that. Thank you very much.
I would like to invite Councillor Potter to speak now.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Deputy Mayor. The freedom of the city is the highest award that the council can present to an individual who has achieved a significant contribution to the locality or has achieved something outstanding. It seems like only the other day, albeit 1999, that this newly elected Conservative councillor joined the ranks with the rest of us here at Chelmsford Borough Council, representing a ward which has now extended to South Hanningfield, Stock and Margaretting. By 2003, Councillor Whitehead had become leader of the newly elected Conservative administration for this council. He selected his cabinet, and then life changed for the staff, officers and elected councillors. He chose John Galley as his deputy leader with a background of banking similar to Councillor Whitehead. They made a good team to get to grips with the council and sort out its needs and priorities and what was best for the residents. Councillor Whitehead continued as leader for 16 years when the Conservatives were the administration, and thereafter as leader of the Conservatives in opposition, a total of 23 years, during which time he was also a member of South Hanningfield Parish Council, and at this moment in time, chairman once again. I could spend hours going through all the things that Councillor Whitehead has achieved in partnership with his cabinet, officers and staff, but one project I would like to mention is the then Borough Council obtaining city status for Chelmsford in 2012. This was a real achievement and I'm sure was the highlight of his time as leader of the council. Whilst the administration undertakes policy as decided and agreed by council, it is the officers that undertake the policy, and this council could not have had a better group of senior officers than we have to support leaders and elected members of this council to achieve their aspirations and decisions. On trying to put this speech together, it's always difficult when you are second in line and the first person covers most of the things. I was advised, sorry, I'll say that again. I was told by Councillor Whitehead, don't say too much, keep it short, and don't forget the football starts at 8 o'clock. So on behalf of the council, staff, ex-council members, far and wide, some not with us anymore, but not forgotten. South Hanningfield Parish Council, town twinning, friends, family, I would like to offer congratulations to Roy on achieving this honour, the freedom of the city of Chelmsford. Councillor Roy Whitehead. Thank you, Deputy Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak at this point?
Good evening. Well, I thought watching YouTube would probably be a very bad idea, Dad, so here I am. Thoughts and all, as they say. Yes, we've managed, thanks. Oh, thank you. Good evening, esteemed ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, one forgets protocol. Yes, David Whitehead, if you hadn't already gathered, come from Backnang today, going back tomorrow. And thank you, I have a piece of paper here, very old school. Thank you to Councillor Massey and Councillor Robinson for seeing this through. Councillor Massey came to me a year ago, we think, and I managed to keep it absolutely silent from my father until, well, now, who thought I was in Backnang. Your daughter-in-law and grandson are watching, by the way. I would just like to thank the council and all the members on it for ratifying my father's, the freemanship of my father. I also have, and these are some words I'd like to say, thank you, Jules, for bringing this over, gifts from our Lord Mayor in Backnang, including a card, which has got a bit bent, actually. There you go. That's for you. And with your permission, I would read this card out from our Mayor, or would you care to read it out?
Please read it out.
Right, excuse me. This is all for you. And it says here, if I can actually open the thing, Dear former Leader of the Council, Councillor Roy Whitehead, in recognition of your outstanding accomplishments with regards to the City of Chelmsford, you are being awarded with the honorary citizenship today. We had to find a suitable translation. Please allow me to send you my heartfelt congratulations on this appointment as honorary citizen of Chelmsford with my best wishes. During your political career, not only have you been an important figure shaping the policy-making process of Chelmsford, but you have also been a fervent supporter of the partnership between Chelmsford and the German town of Backnang. This bond has already seen 35 years of constant exchange and trust, also thanks to your dedication. You have been and will always be a close friend of Backnang, and of course you will always be welcome in your Swabian twin town. Best wishes and congratulations, Maximilian Friedrich, Lord Mayor of Backnang. That's basically it from me, so I'm going to go and sit in the public gallery now and enjoy your evening.
Would you like to come and make your declaration and sign?
I, Roy Whitehead, do solemnly and sincerely declare that as an honourable freeman of the City of Chelmsford, I will preserve the common peace and tranquillity of the said city, so far as I am able, that I know, if I know of any unlawful assemblies against the state thereof, I will forthwith disclose the same to the Mayor of the said city, whom I will aid to my best counsel and advice, and I will defend the customs and privileges of this city in every just and lawful cause.
Right, now we get to sign.
Not there?
Right, I'd like you to present you with this scroll.
Lovely, thank you.
That's something to
Paul
really
wants to
treasure.
do something there, right?
The top comes down.
Doesn't reflect.
That's it.
Clever.
You know more about it than I do.
Many years of practice.
Thank you very much.
Right, and I have this lovely medal.
Oh, we get a medal. I didn't know you got a medal. Oh,
Absolutely.
well, there you are.
It all works. I could have gone, oh, I've got a medal.
Oh, yeah.
So sorry, Roy. Right, let's do it right.
Right.
There we are.
Right. There we go.
There we are.
Thank you.
Now another picture, I think.
Thank you.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you. Right, I do have a vaguely pre-prepared speech, actually.
Do it. Here.
Now, having prepared something, really, I don't know why I did, really, because everybody's mucked the whole evening up by doing things that surprise me, but I can't say I'm complaining, but nonetheless, it is an interesting evening, really. So, firstly, Madam Deputy Mayor, councillors, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, may I thank you all for arranging this. Councillor Massey, I'll see you afterwards about this. But it is a great honour, and from that I have to say how grateful I am. Now, of course, tonight's been changed somewhat by some football match that's going on, and as a result, I appear early on the list rather than right at the end. Now, there's quite a lot of people maybe sitting up there who said, oh, this is good news because we won't have to sit through a council meeting. Those of us who have to sit through council meetings are used to these things, but nonetheless, our guests up there have not always been through. I know some of them have. But anyway, we will see what happens. So try not to look at your phones if we go on past 8 o'clock and start screaming and shouting goal and so on, really. But seriously, yeah, having been a borough and city councillor, it was and is a great pleasure for me. It was something I've always said I would have done for nothing. I won't give the money back now, but nonetheless, it's nonetheless a job that I've always enjoyed doing. And as parish councillors, of course, and there are some here, quite a few here, we do that for nothing anyway, but city councillors are somewhat underpaid in my view, really, but nonetheless, maybe I shouldn't say things like that now. But I was a bank manager, of course, as you know, and worked for Barclays Bank for 36 years and then retired. They were closing branches even then. That was 1998. I ended up managing 6 branches in a group, but that was closed and merged into 12 branches, and so I took the money and ran. But I was bank manager for various things, including the National Trust, Royal British Legion, and various other sort of charities, really, and used to go off and visit them, which is always a very great pleasure, one has to say. And property companies, as you might guess too, really, just one or two that sort of built Brent Cross and things like that. So over the years, I learned something that I was able to put into practice when I came here. Now, as already been mentioned, John, of course, was also a banker, and he and I worked, as you all know, as a double act, and sadly he's not here now, but nonetheless, the legacy from him is as great as anything I've ever done. But I started parish council in 1990, and there are people sitting up there, some of my guests, who are responsible for me being here, because we had a village hall that was rat-ridden and about to fall down, owned by the church, but nonetheless we were being thrown out of that and wanted to get a new village hall. And so I had to come to planning department here and talk to planners. It was unfortunately the Greenbelt, the side that we'd chosen, really, so that I can't say other than I managed to get a hall built in the Greenbelt. And it was opened by Councillor McCrory, who's sadly equally not here tonight, 1999. But nonetheless, it's there and thriving. But it was really that got me involved with planning and things I'd never been involved with before. And then in 1999, my predecessor was Councillor Jean Norton, who was Mayor of Chelmsford. He used to get elected unopposed in some cases in those days, another one that's very odd. But nonetheless, I got elected and became leader when we became in control. Now, I've got a volume called Chelmsford Then and Now. It's only 22 pages. Oh no, I won't put it up now. But nonetheless, it's tried to produce a list of all the things that have happened in Chelmsford. I did do a talk about it to the Civic Society some years ago, really, but things have moved on a lot since then. I'm threatening them now that I'll do another one. But Google enables you now to find pictures that you wouldn't have been able to find in the past. This council chamber, you know, old and brown and miserable and everything else, which is now quite the opposite to that. And, of course, Chelmsford was somewhat different in 2003 than it is now. I mean, I would say it was a run-down industrial town, if you want to be sort of honest, because we had Marconi and Hoffman's and Crompton and all those sort of places. All vanished, their names in the museum, but nowhere else. But, as has been mentioned by a number of people, I had a great group of councillors, really, and, you know, it's slightly frustrating standing up here saying, oh, he did this and he did that. That's not the case. I mean, we had wonderful councillors here, and it was, you know, a team effort. I mustn't mention football again, but nonetheless, it all comes back to that in the end. Without a complete team, you can't do anything. And two chief executives, one no longer with us and one close by, who've put all these things into practice, really. And it's one of those ideas that you know, we have as councillors. I used to have lots of ideas, and John Galley used to keep saying, that's rubbish, you can't do that. And so we didn't do that, but we did something else, really. So that, you know, it's one of those things that you sort of get to know. So I won't mention all the current ex-members of my group. They know who we are. Similarly, Parish Council, I've enjoyed being there. My clerk has been there for not quite as long as I've been a councillor, but is in the gallery here. And our Parish Council is successful and has very short meetings. Now, I did write down here and say I'd like to thank my son. I'm not so sure I do now anymore, really. But no, in all seriousness, he is actually responsible for quite a lot of what happened in Chelmsford. There is a book. I should have produced it. Let me just grab it from my desk. Which has been mentioned a couple of times in the past. But this is the Chelmsford Planning Survey for 1945. It's the local plan. As you'll spot, it's a bit thinner than our local plan, to say the least. But nonetheless, it's full of wisdom, and I spent a lot of time reading it. What it actually says, so it's a slightly sort of dated phraseology in the front of it. It's Victorian almost, but anyway, let me just read a couple of lines. Chelmsford is one of those towns outside the area chosen to represent Greater London, which, while keeping its own individual characters, are nevertheless under the shadowy influence which the metropolis exerts. Now, that's a long way of saying it was just a suburb of London. But nonetheless, it's one of those things that, having read all of that, it goes on to say it's got a bad road system and the rivers are neglected and all sorts of things. And it's a bit worrying, really, because we haven't actually changed a lot since 1945, even though we've all tried. But nonetheless, we'll see. As the sort of, as Councillor Robinson mentioned, yes, we have an item on the agenda tonight to stop us not being a city, isn't that right? In the sense of not being out of parish and so on. And so hopefully I've got a slightly longer life as a freeman of a city. That was an amazing event, really, and that was Steve at that time and all the team who put together this little book you have to put together to get city status. And it produced an amazing result, really. I remember standing outside in the cathedral grounds at about 9 o'clock at night doing an interview because the mayor had been in London. It was freezing cold and I was shivering there trying to do a TV interview and so on, really. What do you think of being a city and so on? Well, yeah, I mean, what else are you going to say? But yes. So I've had pleasure meeting Prince William, of course, who came here for the Scout Jubilee, 100 years Scouts, and so on, and other royals. I've even been to 10 Downing Street a few times. Keir Starmer wasn't there last time I was there, so that, we'll expect nothing else from that. So let me conclude now with just a few of the changes that I believe that we've done. They're not all property related. Waste collection is one. I can't not mention waste collection when Councillor Potter is here, really, but we did start proper waste collection, really, with green bins once a week and so on. And as is often said, it was said, I know yesterday, what residents want really is simply their bins collected on time. And we have the best in the country, I'm sure of that. Otherwise, we got John Lewis, which of course, well, what else? The first medical school in Essex, at ARU. First new railway station. Bewley is still going strong. Clock Tower Shopping Centre, terrific old site, really. You know, people start forgetting that, really. We had to save the Clock Tower, if some of you remember. It was disastrously knocked down. There's a replica there, but nonetheless, it looks the same. St John's Hospital closed. Half the population of Chelmsford was born at one stage in St John's, and then it was another derelict area. We forget that now, you drive past. Rumble Hospital, ditto, a long way out from here, but nonetheless. Now, these are not things that we or I have done. It's we as a council have facilitated in planning. That's the important thing, really. And the residents have benefited from those sorts of things. Highlands House, well, yeah, that's well known. And more to come. Yeah, Waterside, I'll keep clear of the word, otherwise we'll never get there. But let me just say, we're no longer under the shadowy influence of the metropolis, but on the Times list of the top 10 cities in England. So we've done pretty well. So thank you again, everybody. Sorry to have gone on. We're going to have refreshments outside for all of those people who are patiently sitting up there. The council meeting is slightly delayed, and depending on the leader, he might allow them another 10 minutes or so to have a cup of tea. But thank you again, everybody, and I'm truly grateful. Thank you.
I would now like to invite the Mayor's chaplain to conclude the presentation with a blessing.
Let us pray. Gracious and eternal God, we give thanks for the rich history of this city and for those who are called to uphold its honoured franchises, customs and peace. We pray today for Roy. Bless him with wisdom, integrity and a spirit of service. As he bears the responsibilities and honours of this civic title, may his legacy be one of profound goodwill and enduring peace. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
I would like to invite the council and guests to a reception in the Crompton Room, and to remind councillors that the main meeting will commence at 7 p.m, which I think is now. So 10 past. So make it 10 past. Guests are welcome to remain at the reception if they wish. Please remain in your places until the civic procession is left.
Will all please stand while the Deputy Mayor leaves the chamber?
Good evening, members of the Council and members of the public, and welcome to this meeting. Please would you all remain standing, if you're able, while my chaplain says prayer. Stand up again, sorry.
Let us pray. Father, bless this assembly tonight. Grant us patience and kindness in all our dealings. And as we prepare to hold your people in our hearts once again, give us courage and strength in our deliberations and a vision for the future which inspires and includes all. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on our website. Please can members also remember to speak directly into their microphone and to switch them on before speaking. Anyone attending this meeting is entitled to film it, but I should point out that only the councillors, officers and anyone sitting around these tables may be filmed. Members of the public should not be filmed, so please ensure that cameras are pointed only in this direction. Please would you silence or switch off your mobiles while the meeting is taking place. I would like to remind members that there are 3 styles of voting that can be used tonight. These are a show of hands, voting by assent, or a recorded vote, which would have to be requested by 10 members. I would also like to remind members that those moving an item of business have 10 minutes and a right of reply for 5 minutes. Those seconding items have 5 minutes and can reserve their right to speak to before the mover of the motion has the final say. All other councillors can only speak once for 5 minutes per item. This must be before I invite the seconder or mover to speak at the end. I've received apologies for absence for this meeting from Councillors Armstrong, Chambers, Paul Clark, Deakin, Foster, Papa, Raven, Scott, Sismy, Tron, Wilson, Whitehead and Potter. Are there any others to report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Also Councillors Canning and Davey.
I've been advised former councillor Laurie Boyle has recently passed away. He was a councillor between 1973 and 1983. Our thoughts are with family and friends. Since the start of the mayoralty, we've attended, myself and the mayor, a total of 58 engagements and meetings, a busy start to the year. I'd like to draw your attention to the forthcoming fundraising events for the Mayor's charity, which I hope you know now is Springfield Furniture Bank. On Sunday, this Sunday, I think something else is happening that night as well, Prosecco and strawberries at the Hive Cafe, far more attractive option. That's 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. On Wednesday, the 29th of July, at the Old Court Theatre, there's a production of Underdog, the other Bronte, and all the ticket proceeds from that night will go to the Mayor's charity, but bookings are via the Old Court Theatre website. On Sunday, the 9th of August, there's a garden party and afternoon tea at Keene Homes between 2 and 5. Details can be found on the Mayor's Facebook page, and we look forward to seeing some of you at these events. And obviously we're arranging lots of other fundraising events during the year. Members will be aware of the need to declare any interest they have in the business at this meeting, either now or when we come to the item. Does anyone wish to declare any interest at this point? The minutes of the meeting on the 2nd of June have been distributed. Are you happy to accept them as a correct record? In that case, the minutes are approved. Now we come to item 5, public questions. Any members of the public may ask a question on which the council has powers or duties or which affects the city. Questions must not exceed 2 minutes, and the total period allowed for question time under the council's rules of procedure is 30 minutes. There's not an opportunity for supplementary questions. We have received 2 public questions for tonight's meeting. I understand that the members of the public who submitted the 2 questions are not here tonight. Members will have seen the questions, which were circulated to members and published on our website. I'll now ask Councillor Dudley to respond to the first one.
Good evening. I'm Councillor Dudley, the Cabinet Member for Health and Wellbeing. As the person asking the question appreciates, we cannot comment on the particulars of the case. However, the Council and Essex Police are not aware of high levels of antisocial behaviour in the area as outlined in the question. In fact, shortly before this incident, officers attended the annual assembly at Channels, and these issues were not raised by the residents who attended. Chelmsford City Council takes knife crime and serious youth antisocial behaviour seriously and works with partners and agencies to address this. The Council invested in a bespoke community safety partnership hub 8 years ago, and community safety staff are co-located with the Essex Police Neighbourhood Policing Team, which includes children and young persons officers. This partnership is thriving and enables us to track and support those young people who are at risk. It is important to remember that perpetrators can often be victims of crime by exploitation or through suffering from poor mental health. In addition, our community safety team provides education on exploitation in schools and colleges. For example, the Crucial Crew that visits Year 6 and also visits to Chelmsford College. The Joint Education Team, police and fire staff, based at the PFCC's office in Kelvedon, also have an extensive offer for schools, both primary and secondary, and schools have access to a suite of resources via Education Safeguarding and the Essex Violence and Vulnerability Unit, Essex VVU. Essex VVU provides funding to several Chelmsford-based organisations who provide support to young people in the form of youth clubs, targeted youth outreach, in-school mentoring and therapy programmes. Essex VVU has an effective reroute programme that works with young adults aged 17 to 25 years. This is a voluntary programme of support, engagement and mentoring post-arrest. Essex Youth Offending Services also has effective measures for out-of-court disposals for lesser offences that prevent young people being criminalised and is proven to reduce reoffending. We have recently provided additional funding for more policing at peak times to patrol the city centre and surrounding parks, and to Essex County Council's youth services to deliver more targeted outreach. This funding is on top of the other effective interventions like 24-hour CCTV, the open road SOS bus and night marshals. And we hope to be able to update on some additional resources available from the Home Office in coming weeks from the Knife Crime Concentration Fund. Residents of the Channels estate and across Chelmsford can report antisocial behaviour to the council by using our website or by emailing the community safety team at community.safety@chelmsford.gov.uk. ASB can also be reported to Essex Police via the website or by ringing 101. If unacceptable behaviour is not reported to us, we're not able to take action to deal with it. Firstly, complaints have to be reported, as I've just mentioned. If the agency responsible is not aware of the issues, it cannot deal with them effectively or provide suitable resources to respond. In most cases, the council will provide diary sheets for the victim to record the continued alarm, harassment and distress it is causing to their quality of life. If a housing provider is involved, it can sometimes be best placed to tackle the ongoing behaviour as part of the tenancy conditions. However, if a resident believes that the agency responsible is not responding to their concerns, there is an ASB case review process. Details of this can be found on our website, where it explains the criteria and what would qualify for a case review. The case review ensures there is a review where incidents have been reported and no action has been taken, but the report must have been made to the council, police or housing provider. Regarding housing providers, the council works closely with a number of housing providers to tackle antisocial behaviour. Some providers will attend the monthly tasking meetings in the Community Safety Partnership Hub, where there will also be various support services present. And finally, the placement of young persons in the community is the responsibility of Essex County Council, since they provide the social care function. We will, of course, work with the County Council and housing providers should they require support with individual cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dudley. I will now invite Councillor Large to respond to the second question.
Thank you. And thank you for the question. This person, who's I assume is going to watch this online, maybe after the football. So I'm Jenny Large, and I'm the Cabinet Member for Culture and Leisure. So Essex Pride is an independent event organised by Essex Pride. Chelmsford City Council's role is to support the safe and appropriate use of public spaces, working with organisers where needed on event management, safety, accessibility and safeguarding. The Council actively supports the values of equality, diversity and inclusion that Pride represents. Taking the first two questions together, event organisers are encouraged to follow the Purple Guide in respect of health and safety and welfare at outdoor events, and are set out in the City Council's outdoor events policy in parks and green spaces. Council officers engage with event organisers through the normal planning process, including discussions on licensing, stewarding, security, accessibility and safeguarding. The Council does not pre-approve individual attendees' clothing choices, provided they comply with the law and event rules. Organisers are responsible for managing the event and responding to concerns on the day. Safeguarding is taken seriously. The Council expects events in its land to be properly planned, risk assessed and managed so they are safe, inclusive and appropriate for all attendees, including children and young people. Ultimately, the event organiser is responsible for ensuring adequate safeguarding controls are in place and managed. It's also important to note that we have not had any issues raised by other families attending this event. Quite the opposite. People praise Essex Pride as a safe, welcoming and inclusive environment for everyone. Taking the third question, on this wider point, I do not see this as a binary choice between supporting community events and supporting children and young people. We are committed to both. There is a significant number of LGBTQ+ young people in our city. An event like Essex Pride directly supports them by giving them the space to express themselves freely. The Council continues to invest effort and resources in programmes that benefit children, young people and families, including Play in the Park, Picnic in the Park, holiday activities, sports development, cultural engagement, community safety work and partnership activity with Essex County Council, Essex Police, schools and the voluntary sector. Community events also support well-being, inclusion and community cohesion. A successful city needs targeted support for young people alongside opportunities for residents from all backgrounds to come together and take part in civic and cultural life. As with all significant events, officers will continue to work with organisers to ensure appropriate arrangements are in place and to consider any constructive feedback as part of future planning. Anyone with specific concerns can also contact the Essex Pride organisers directly, who I know will listen to constructive feedback. I attended Pride this year myself, and I saw a wonderful celebration of equality, inclusion, and the LGBTQ+ community. I'm sure you'll agree that one of the most significant current challenges for many young people in our city is a struggle with their mental health. Young people who are members of the LGBTQ+ community can feel isolated and lonely, and my absolute favourite part of Pride was seeing young people relaxed and happy, knowing they are in a safe environment to explore their identity. Like yourself, it's directed to the person asking the question, but all of you as well. I fully support diversity and believe there is an important place for events such as Essex Pride in Chelmsford, and I'm very proud that we host this fabulous event in our wonderful, diverse city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Large. Agenda item 6 is Cabinet question time. At the time of the deadline of noon on Monday, 3 questions had been submitted for Cabinet members. There's a right of reply to ask a supplementary question or comment, which, if exercised, also applies to the Cabinet member. The first is from Councillor H. Clark, and I'll ask Councillor Sherlock to respond to it.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This year's Skillfest was another great success. Despite the heat, 1,100 Year 8 children attended the event and experienced a range of fun, hands-on activities delivered by 100 local businesses at ARU Writtle. The participating schools this year were Bewley Park School, the Boshall School, Molsham High School, the Sandon School, St John's Payne Catholic School and William de Ferris School. This is the 5th Skills Fest we have held, and it has grown year on year. The number of businesses and organisations that supported the event significantly exceeded previous years. With an eye on local government reorganisation, we took the opportunity this year to invite some of our colleagues from Brentwood and Malden to see firsthand what this event is all about. Planning has already begun for the 2027, and we are liaising with ARU Writtle and Essex Agricultural Society on confirming the date for Skillfest 27. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sherlock. The second is from Councillor Thorpe-Apps. Would you like to ask your question? I'm sorry, I didn't ask Councillor Clark if he wanted to read his question. I think we'd all read it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Deputy Mayor. So my question, the City Council has rightly invested time and resources in initiatives such as the Women's Safety Charter to improve safety and wellbeing for women across our district. With International Men's Day happening on the 19th of November, could the Cabinet member outline what specific initiatives the Council is undertaking to address issues that disproportionately affect men in our district, particularly in relation to mental health, suicide prevention, social isolation and support for male victims of domestic abuse? In particular, could the Cabinet member advise what events or initiatives, if any, are planned to mark International Men's Day? What council-funded programmes specifically support men's mental health and well-being beyond the existing On Your Team initiative? And finally, whether the council has any plans to develop a strategy or action plan focused on men's health and well-being comparable to its Women's Safety Charter or other gender-specific initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll ask Councillor Dudley to respond, please.
Chelmsford City Council delivers a range of projects and initiatives for all individuals, including men. There are also some examples of programmes that are specific to men. The On Your Team initiative mentioned in the question has proved to be very successful, and the sessions are designed to combat social isolation and loneliness. We have a group of over 50 men, many of whom meet every week to play sports together. We've been able to help men from many different walks of life, including international students who were struggling to make friends. And this initiative has now also been extended to sessions for women. Funding has previously been provided to the Over 50s Black Men's Forum to support the delivery of a mental health responder and peer-led wellbeing programme for black men aged over 50 in Chelmsford. It enabled the training and certification of 3 to 5 community members as mental health first responders, embedding culturally appropriate preventative mental health support within a trusted community setting. Through the Strengthening Communities Grant Programme, administered by Chelmsford CVS on our behalf, Men's Shed, Southwood and Ferrers received funding which helps strengthen community infrastructure and provides opportunities for social connection and peer support. We have previously funded the Centre for Action on Rape and Abuse, CARA, to deliver specialist counselling and therapeutic support to Chelmsford residents who have experienced sexual violence. This includes both men and women. In addition to the projects I've already outlined, the recommendations from the Mid-Essex Men's Health Inequalities Report continue to inform and shape our approach to reducing health inequalities and improving mental health outcomes for men in Chelmsford. There are a number of other initiatives and projects that assist mental health, suicide prevention and social isolation. These are focused on everyone, irrespective of gender. The Chelmsford Sport and Wellbeing team deliver a range of activities to support mental health. These include social activity sessions for mental wellbeing at CSAC called With You in Mind, and these popular sessions involve a range of different physical and social activities to help improve confidence and promote inclusivity. We also hold public living room events where we invite members of the public to speak with us about any issues they're experiencing. It's a very informal and welcoming environment where we create a safe space for people to speak with us. And the Summer Engagement Hub takes place weekly during this summer outside Shire Hall on the High Street, providing advice and outreach from Chelmsford City Council and various partners. We have provided funding to the Chelmsford CVS to deliver 2-day mental health first aid training courses for up to 16 participants. The training was open to staff and volunteers working within the voluntary and community sector, helping to increase local capacity to recognise and respond to mental health issues. We also work closely with Kinder Essex to raise awareness of suicide and prevention. We distribute suicide prevention resources to members of the public at events and also organise events to encourage people to have open conversations. We promote the Zero Suicide Alliance suicide awareness training, encouraging organisations and individuals to develop their confidence and skills in recognising, responding to and supporting people who may be experiencing suicidal thoughts or emotional distress. Regarding the Women's Safety Charter, Chelmsford City Council introduced the Women's Safety Charter following the tragic murder of Sarah Everard in 2021, which created national uproar surrounding women's safety. We conducted research in partnership with the University of Essex to gather views and experiences of residents and visitors to Chelmsford. The research indicated that safety is a concern for everyone, but that women feel disproportionately at risk of experiencing harm during the day as well as at night. Women and girls should have the absolute right to feel safe wherever they are. And our Women's Safety Charter is a statement from Chelmsford City Council and our partners that we will not tolerate behaviours that make women feel unsafe in our city. We believe that everybody has a role to play in creating, sustaining a respectful and inclusive culture for all, and that Chelmsford is recognised as a progressive place, championing women's safety throughout the city. There is now a network of women's safety charters in Essex and beyond that creates safe spaces and prompt behavioural change. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dudley. The third is from Councillor... Oh, sorry. Please.
Thank you. Thank you for the response, a thorough response setting out the initiatives that the Council does engage in. The reason for my question really was that given that there has been a lot of investment in women-focused initiatives, and you talked a lot about the Women's Safety Charter there, which I'm fully supportive of, and I think it's been a great thing. But the offering for men tends to be provided, and I think it came across in your answer somewhat there, within the overall mental health framework of the Council. There's very little that is specific for men that I can see. The On Your Team initiative, I think it's a good start, but currently it's confined, as I understand it, to a weekly sports session on a Thursday evening. I'm not sure how much opportunity that gives men to really talk about some of the gritty issues that they may be facing. I'm aware of, you mentioned as well, some of the excellent local organisations like Men's Shed. And I agree, it's not the Council's role, and I agree with this, it's not the Council's role to do everything. I mean, a lot of what the Council should be doing is signposting, referring and publicising to the work of these great local organisations are doing. As you know, suicide is the biggest cause of death for men under 50, and about 3/4 of suicides are men, plus men are also much more likely to fall into issues of substance abuse. But crucially, men are much less likely to talk about the issues, and this, I suppose, comes to the heart of why I'm asking the question, really. I think the needs of men are quite specific. So I wonder if really Chelmsford would benefit from a dedicated strategy or action plan, perhaps using International Men's Day as a catalyst for that, I really would welcome a chance to be involved in any discussions around that and what that might look like. Recognising, of course, that LGR is round the corner and it's in the back of our minds on everything that we discuss. And it's probably difficult to really create a strategy given that that's round the corner. But I do think it would be helpful to do some work on this, and that's something that could be taken into the new council structure as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dudley, would you like to respond?
Well, just to say that we work very closely with partner agencies, and in particular CVS has a very good website called Chelmsford Connects, which will highlight lots of places for men to get mental health support. Just to assure you that men's health is not ignored by this council, we have a range of activities that take place throughout the year. But thank you for your question.
The third question is from Councillor Davidson, and I'd like Councillor Large to respond to it. If Councillor Davidson would like to ask the question first.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Many of my residents with young families will find the summer holidays difficult given cost of living pressures. St Andrew's ward is the most deprived ward in Chelmsford. So will the relevant Cabinet member please let me know what free activities are planned for children during the summer holidays, including for those families who can't afford to run a car?
Thank you. Councillor Large.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor, for your question. So I share your concern about the pressure many families face during the summer holidays, particularly in areas such as St Andrews and also Westlands, which is in my own ward, where the impact of the cost of living can be especially challenging. I'm pleased to say there's a range of free activities available right across the Chelmsford district this summer, many of them delivered locally and accessible without the need for a car. Our popular Play in the Park programme will once again provide free sports, games, crafts and creative activities for children aged 3 to 11 in community locations across the city. We're also supporting the Essex Activate programme, which offers free holiday activities and meals for eligible children through organisations including the Chelmsford City FC Foundation, Chelmsford Sport and Athletics Centre and a range of community partners. Families can also enjoy free cultural opportunities, including this weekend's Iron Age Day at the Museum of Chelmsford. I'd invite everyone to go to that, it's going to be lots of fun. With crafts, storytelling and living history activities linked to the opening of the Timeless Treasures exhibition. Admission to the museum will be free for this event. The museum also has a Pay It Forward board, and I would encourage anyone in this chamber who is able to purchase an admission ticket or membership to the museum and leave it on the board for someone else in need to use at a later date. Alongside this, children can take part in the Summer Reading Challenge through Essex Libraries, and young people can get involved in initiatives such as Spark, helping to shape cultural activities across our city. I'm also pleased that community partners are helping to widen access. For example, Dose Fest this weekend is providing free community tickets for residents who may otherwise face barriers to participation, supported through funding from the City Council's Public Health team. The important point here is that there is a substantial programme of free activities available this summer. Whether children are interested in sport, culture, creativity or simply having fun with friends, there are opportunities available across Chelmsford. And while I am pleased with the range of free activities available this summer, I know there is always more we can do. We continue to work with voluntary organisations, community groups, cultural partners and funders to expand opportunities and help remove financial barriers to participation, particularly for families who may otherwise be unable to take part. The local CVS also share activities via their bulletin and via their Chelmsford Connects platform. There is far more on offer than I have time to cover this evening. I'd be very happy to share a fuller list of activities, organisations and links with Councillor Davidson after the meeting for circulation to residents.
Thank you, Councillor Large. Councillor Davidson? No? Thank you. The report under item 7 is from the Cabinet on the 14th of July and Governance Committee on the 11th of June on proposed changes to the Constitution and will be introduced by Councillor Robinson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. As you said, it's been through 2 working groups to Cabinet Governance and comes to you this evening to tidy up the Employee Code of Conduct and the Mayoral Rules of Procedure. I don't think they're terribly controversial, so I move the recommendation.
Is anyone seconding it?
I'll second.
Thank you. The motion is to approve the amendments to the Constitution. Will those in favour of the recommendation please indicate by raising their hand? Will those against the recommendation please indicate by raising their hand? Will those abstaining please indicate by raising their hand? The recommendation to approve the changes to the Constitution is agreed. The report under item 8 is from the Treasury Management and Investment Subcommittee on the 15th of June and Cabinet on the 14th of July on the Treasury Outrun 2025 to 26 and will be introduced by Councillor Chris Davidson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This is the third outing for this report. It was discussed at Treasury Management and Investment Subcommittee. It came to Cabinet last night and we've moved it on to Council. I won't say any more about it. It simply explains what happened last year. It's a factual report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you. The motion is to approve the recommendations in the report. Will those in favour of the recommendations please indicate by raising their hand? Thank you. Will those against the recommendation please indicate by raising their hand? Will those abstaining please raise their hand? The recommendations in the report are agreed. Item 9 is the annual report of the Audit and Risk Committee for 2025 to 26, which will be introduced by Councillor Walsh.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The Audit and Risk Committee recently agreed its annual report, which full Council is asked tonight to approve for publication. I'm pleased to present the annual report of the committee, which outlines the committee's work and achievements during the year of 25 to 26. The annual report summarises the work that the Audit and Risk Committee has undertaken during the previous year, the last year, the terms of reference of the committee and future work for the forthcoming year of 26-27. During the previous year, the committee met 5 times, considering matters including the internal audit report, risk management reports, counter-fraud reports and updates from the external audit. I would like to express my thanks to the members of the committee and to the officers who have supported the work of the Audit and Risk Committee by presenting and discussing a number of reports. I'm happy to answer any questions and recommend that the Council approves this annual report. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. The motion is to approve the recommendations in the report. Will those in favour of the recommendations please indicate by raising their hand? Thank you. That's everyone, so no need for any more hand raising. The recommendations in the report are agreed. Item 10 is the annual report of the Governance Committee for 2025 to 26, which will be introduced by Councillor Rajesh.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This is a routine annual report from the Governance Committee submitted to Council for information. The report details various areas of work by the committee last year, 2025-26, including monitoring the Council's approach to governance, complaints about the city, parish, or town councillors, changes to the Constitution and monitoring matters such as whistleblowing and use of investigative powers. It notes there were 9 complaints received by the monitoring officer and that 1 case was referred for investigation. This has been heard by the Governance Committee and is subject to a separate report to the full Council tonight. Thanks to the monitoring officer and the Council's independent persons for their work in handling the complaints and supporting the committee's functions. I'm happy to answer any questions and then propose that Council approve this annual report. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. The motion is to approve the recommendations in the report. Will those in favour of the recommendations please indicate by raising their hand? I think that's everyone again. That's everyone. Thank you. The recommendations in the report are agreed. Item 11 is the annual report of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee for 2025-26, which will be introduced by Councillor Jeeps.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. As such, the report on the Overview and Scrutiny Committee includes the purpose of the committee and what work it should undertake. It also provides the new membership, including a change in the Vice Chair from Councillor Thompson, who I thank for his support and the work he did previously, and to welcome Councillor Linda Mascott, who now works as the Vice or the Deputy to this committee. The report provides the programme of work and the activities of the group between May 2025 to May 26. This is listed with the accompanying minutes within the document. There was one call-in regarding the Cabinet's decision, and this was on the Community Infrastructure Levy, and the Cabinet's decision was upheld. Future work and projects are outlined and are still being discussed and include some new ideas from the Vice Chair. I'd like to thank all of those who have supported the committee and the officers who provide much needed guidance when we sit. So thank you very much, and I will take questions.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. The motion is to approve the recommendations in the report. Will those in favour of the recommendation please indicate by raising their hand? Right, I think that's everybody. Thank you. The recommendations in the report are agreed. Item 12 is a report from the Governance Committee on a proposed censure of a City Councillor, which will be introduced by Councillor Franks, who was the Chair of Governance Committee during 2025-26.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'll try and not take too long on this one, but I think it is important. So councillors hold an important role in public life. We are responsible for the management of a wide range of vital services that residents rely upon, and the responsible use of the hard-earned money that they contribute to the services for the public good. It's therefore right that we hold the public hold their elected representative to a high standard of conduct, and it is our responsibility to hold members accountable when they fail to meet this standard. Part of this responsibility is to maintain a professional and effective relationship with council officers who, in my experience, go above and beyond to deliver for the people of Chelmsford. This positive relationship is vital in making sure that we can deliver the best service possible for our residents, as well as to our ability to foster a healthy work environment for those who work for the council. During my time in the council, I have seen the majority of members from all the political groups conduct themselves in the manner required, and while I can't speak for the officers, I believe our ethos has helped us attract highly effective officers because they recognise that this council is a good place to work. It is therefore disappointing to be in the position to have to bring this motion of censure against Councillor Paul Clark to Council on behalf of the Governance Committee. While I expect members will have read the report, I believe it is appropriate to give some detail as to why the Governance Committee has found this motion to be necessary and to provide transparency to the public on the actions that we take to uphold standards for councillors on this authority. So the complaint was raised against Councillor Paul Clark's behaviour on the 5th of June 2025, where it was alleged that Councillor Clark had attended the council offices unannounced and questioned an officer regarding an enforcement notice and the related decision. It was further alleged that Councillor Clark was hostile and argumentative from the outset, reportedly raising his voice and repeatedly questioning the officer in a dismissive and threatening manner and demeanour. This formal complaint followed several previous instances where he had attended the council offices unannounced and acted disrespectfully towards staff, despite a previous reminder to all councillors that they should make an appointment if they wish to have an in-person meeting with staff. This policy is intended to ensure that appropriate officers are available when a council visits a team and are equipped with the necessary information to answer the query effectively, intended to avoid such incidents such as the one described by the complainant, where Councillor Clark had interrupted their supervisor during an online Teams call while she'd been wearing headphones. This complaint, which met the threshold for investigation, was referred to an external investigator to consider whether the council had breached the code of conduct. Once the investigation had been completed, the matter was subsequently referred to the Governance Committee to undertake a hearing, and this hearing took place on the 11th of March 2026. In considering the complaint, the committee heard from the complainant and witnesses of the incident, as well as considering a report of the investigator who was independent of the council. In my own view, the behaviour described to the committee is nothing short of shocking. Officers in the planning team regularly deal with robust responses to contentious planning issues across the district, and so to hear that the team had been so affected by their experience with Councillor Clark suggests conduct far beyond the reasonable challenge that councillors are expected to give council officers, decisions, and no person, whether officer or otherwise, deserves to be spoken to as if they are an idiot or a child. The implication that Councillor Clark has on a number of occasions used his influence as a councillor to pressure officers to drop particular cases is also deeply concerning. Members are in a position of power in their relationship with officers and must not abuse that authority. The committee found that Councillor Clark had breached the council's code of conduct by failing to show respect to council officers. Throughout the process, Councillor Clark had been dismissive in his attitude to the code of conduct investigation and did not attend the hearing in question. To account for his actions, and his report to the committee struck a similar tone. As a result, the committee also found that he had breached the code of conduct on a second count through failing to show respect and engage with the investigation earnestly, which the public should rightly expect any councillor faced with a complaint to do. The committee imposed a number of sanctions which can be found in the appendix to tonight's report, which we felt were necessary in light of the complaint made to the monitoring officer, and included training for Councillor Clark on the code of conduct, with emphasis on the protocol for relationships between councils and officers, which has now been completed. Before I formally move this motion, I would like to take the opportunity to thank all the members of the Governance Committee, the independent advisors and officers for their work throughout the process, in particular the monitoring officer and the committee's independent person who worked on this case have put many hours in to ensure that this complaint has been treated with the gravity and seriousness that it deserves. And finally, I would like to take the opportunity to apologise on behalf of members to the officers concerned for the conduct that has taken place, and I think I can speak for most members to say that we expect much better from any councillor in this chamber, regardless of any political affiliation. So with that, I formally move that, arising from the breaches of the Code of Conduct, that Council formally censures Councillor Paul Clark in relation to the findings of the Governance Committee set out in Appendix 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Franks. Do we have a seconder? Thank you.
And I would like to speak.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, I'm seconding the motion. Just a few words, just to say one of the great things about Chelmsford City Council is the access that councillors have to officers. I can tell you it's not the case in other councils where councillors are distanced from officers and have to rely on the slow and mandatory members' inquiries. So long may it continue in Chelmsford City Council. But it places a responsibility on councillors who must respect the integrity, experience and professionalism of officers and keep dialogue and questioning to a polite and constructive way. Incidents such as this do not bode well for good relationships between councillors and officers, and it would be a bad day if we had to implement discussions by appointments and in the presence of other officers. The Code of Conduct is the means by which councillors should act, and we have all signed up to it and accept that we will be measured against it. The investigation by an external examiner found the Code of Conduct to have been breached in two parts, by the behaviour to an officer and by not cooperating with the investigation. We all know and we all experience coming under a lot of pressure from the public. The public don't have to follow a Code of Conduct, more's the pity. But our role includes buffering that and not transferring it to council workers. It can be a fine line, and the judgment in this case was the line was crossed. I hope that the recognition of this breach goes some way to reassuring officers that councillors do respect the role they play and that close working can continue in a respectful and constructive way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. The motion is to approve the recommendations in the report. Will those in favour of the recommendations please indicate by raising their hand? Again, I think that's everybody. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Will those against the recommendation please indicate by raising their hand? Will those abstaining please indicate by raising their hand? Thank you. The recommendations in the report are agreed. Item 12 is a report from the Governance Committee. Oh, sorry. We won't do that again. Item 13 is on the Community Governance Review and will be introduced by Councillor Robinson.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor. It's slightly disappointing to have to bring the key recommendations in this report to Council tonight. So I'd start with a positive bit. The recommendation one at the outcome of the initial consultation be noted, because when we went out to consultation on whether to create a parish council for the unparished area, over half of the people who expressed a view said they thought we should have a parish council for the unparished area. And then when it was added the additional question, well, if we had LGR, would your view change? Even more people wanted to parish the unparished area. So in that context of LGR, nearly 2/3 of the people expressing an opinion wanted to parish the unparished area. And the consultant that is working with us and a number of other councils on CGRs advised that both the percentage and the numbers, although as a percentage of the total population wasn't large, but we know that on any consultation, the number of people that respond to any consultation, even really controversial planning applications, isn't massive. But the percentage response was therefore, in his opinion, as someone who's carried out many CGRs, the number of people and the percentage was indicated strong support for parish in the unparished area. And so we thought that the working group, and we thought that would go ahead. But unfortunately, we then learnt that if we parish the unparished area, so the entirety of the district is parish, then we could lose city status on the 1st of April 2028, assuming LGR goes ahead. So reluctantly, we bring the recommendation that we do no further work, that the CGR is concluded at this stage. I've written to the Minister concerned, asking her, it's currently her, it might not be her, say next week. I've written to her asking her whether she can assist, because there are a number of other places which went through parish and community governance review and or local government reorganisation where these issues have come up before. As we have discovered in the research, it's the weeds of the British Constitution that you get dragged into on occasions like this has kept Miss Brown busy and many other, and lawyers, and we've taken advice on this. I thought it would be quite straightforward. There are 8 other parish status councils, parish tier councils, which have city status, 2 of which are relatively recent during unitary status, and I thought that would be the route to follow, but that for all sorts of reasons, it's not possible at this time. I hope we find a solution to this issue, because whilst we don't want to lose city status, also parishing the unparished area, and so that the people in the middle of the district, who are a minority, the majority, nearly 2/3 of the population of the district, do have parish and town councils, and I think that it's something that the other third should also benefit from, particularly as we get a larger council from LGR, which potentially is more remote, and so I would like to see us being able to come forward with a proposal, but we can't at this time, and so therefore I move the recommendations in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. The motion is to approve the recommendations in the report. Sorry, questions, yes.
I'll make it really quick. I know we've kicked off. I was never a big fan of parish in the centre, and I don't understand the logic of you can't have city status if you parish the centre. I've got to stand up, sorry. I thought you can sit down. I'm nearer the microphone if I sit down. Some of the recommendations, some of the things that were consulted on were quite sensible, like expanding Broomfield and making it more logical. Is there any opportunity that that might still be considered, that there is some minor expansion on some of the parishes into the unparished area?
I suppose theoretically we could do that, but it seems a lot of work for a relatively minor change, and I think it's probably best that we just pause it. I mean, personally, I think there's a couple of bits of unfinished business which we left over from the previous CGR, where there are boundary issues which we need to think about, and I think it's probably best. Unfortunately, the most likely thing is we're now going to have to pause this until after LGR. That's deeply disappointing to me, but that looks like the most likely outcome. My second best would be the Minister gives us a clear answer very soon and we could actually rejuvenate this process and get it through before LGR would be my hope, but it may not be possible.
Thank you, councillors. So the motion is to approve the recommendations in the report. Will those in favour of the recommendation please indicate by raising their hand? Yeah, I think that is everyone this time. Thank you. So the recommendation in the report are agreed. We now have a notice of motion on car parking. It will be moved by Councillor Julia Jeeps and seconded by Councillor Andrew Thorpe-Apps. No amendments were received to this motion. Councillor Jeeps, please.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The motion is as follows. Most of our public parks are accessible without the need to use a car. However, Highlands, which has so much capacity and such excellent facilities, is an exception to this for most of our residents, specifically those with young families. In 2021, despite over 7,500 people signing a petition objecting to parking charges being introduced and many more residents opposing it, this council voted to introduce them. And I think that number is significant, particularly in what was said in the previous item. We are now in the midst of a cost of living crisis where many of our residents are having to count every penny just to get by. The school summer holidays are now coming up, but a day out can be very expensive, particularly to families. Council believes that for summer holidays from the 18th of July until the 30th of August 2026, parking at Highlands Park should be free. This is a small gesture but may help more of our residents to enjoy the facilities in a park that was originally purchased by the council to secure the vast green space for local public use, I quote. Removing parking charges would promote access to outdoor recreation and help ensure that the park is affordable and welcoming to all. That the loss of income for this period, approximately £77,000, can be offset by the £1.24 million that was obtained over the initial income expectations when residents were charged for the disposal of garden waste, the brown bins. In addition, Chelmsford City Council also received an improved financial governance settlement, which Councillor Davison stated would allow the council to support worthy initiatives. It should be noted that Basildon Council has just approved free weekend parking in several areas based on supporting their own town centres, local business and communities, which may be an additional consideration for Chelmsford City Council. Council therefore resolves that we request that the cabinet member responsible and the relevant officers instigate a summer, that's the 18th of the 7th 26th to the 30th of the 8th 26th, of free parking at Highlands. That the viability of similar schemes for free and discounted parking is considered to support Chelmsford Town Centre and local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Thorpe-Apps, would you like to second the motion at this point, or
I would like to second the motion, but could I reserve my right to speak?
Yes.
At the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Davidson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This motion starts with an issue we would agree with. There is a cost of living crisis, and many of our residents, especially families in the long school holidays, will find it difficult to afford days out. But it's a crisis that Councillor Jeeps's party started, with a disastrous Liz Truss budget that caused inflation to rise to over 11%. Prices rose massively for residents, for the council, for the whole country, and monthly mortgage payments shot up by hundreds of pounds. In response, the motion proposes a discount of £3.40 on a day out at Highlands, £3.40 to help residents with the hundreds of pounds in extra costs the Conservative government saddled us all with. Why only £3.40? Because that's all it costs a resident to spend the day at Highlands. Take a picnic, spend the day there for £3.40. That's already massive value for money. But What's wrong with making it free then? Well, sadly, the opposition haven't thought through their proposal. If you drive to Highlands, you need to find a parking space when you get there. The summer holidays are the busiest time of the year. The car parks are rammed. Last year, 21,000 cars visited in the relevant period. Where would the opposition park all the extra cars they want to attract? How pleased will you be when you arrive but can't find a parking space? What consideration have the opposition given to the consequences of cars being unable to park? Have they discussed this with Writtle Parish Council? Given the obvious risk that people who can't find a parking space will park in Writtle instead and walk through. What about people who've already bought a season ticket, expecting it to pay for itself when they visit over the summer holidays? Why should they pay when others are offered free parking? Do they get a refund? How would that work? There's a more fundamental problem with this proposal. The majority of people who visit Highlands are from outside Chelmsford, especially in the summer holidays. One of the objectives when we introduced charging was to make non-residents contribute to the costs of maintaining Highlands, which are expected to be over £1.1 million this year, even after netting off income. So why are the opposition proposing free parking for the benefit mainly of people who don't live in Chelmsford? In fact, they're proposing a bigger discount for non-residents than for residents, and no discount at all for residents with a season ticket. How is that a sensible way to help residents through the cost of living crisis? In fact, we're already helping the most vulnerable residents who would otherwise be deterred from taking their family to enjoy Highlands. We designed it in from the start, a free annual season ticket for those receiving council tax support, all year round, not just for 6 weeks in the summer. And on top of this, we provide free parking for all blue badge holders. So how do we find ourselves debating a motion to change parking charges 3 days before it's due to take effect? Is that a rational way to manage a council? They haven't given any consideration to the operational questions that would need to be answered or the consequences of their half-baked proposal. Parking charges are imposed under a traffic regulation order. Have they considered how long it takes to change the pricing? Have they consulted with those affected? Have they looked at the numbers of extra visitors this might attract and what additional staffing or other measures would be needed to cope with them? Have they given the businesses that run concessions at Highlands warning that they need to plan for this? Have they even thought through what they really want to propose, assuming they don't really want Chelmsford residents to pay for free visits by non-residents? The reality is that any proposal like this needs to be considered carefully, and it needs to be balanced against alternative budget proposals. Those judgments are normally made in February each year. Why didn't the opposition propose this then, when there was time to look at it? In fact, the opposition voted for the budget in February this year, including the current Highlands parking charges. It's too late to change their minds now. Each year, I ask the opposition to talk to me about their budget proposals in the autumn, so that we can adopt anything sensible that they want to propose. Each year, they decline to do so, as they prefer to keep their powder dry until the budget debate. Political posturing rather than actually trying to help the residents. Or they could have suggested it in March or April this year. We could have discussed it while there was time to work through the problems I've highlighted. So I'll simply repeat my offer. If there are proposals for next year's budget that the opposition will want to put forward, come and talk about them in the autumn when there's time to develop them properly. And if they come up with new proposals during the year, like this one, come and talk to us about them in good time. Don't ambush us with half-baked proposals 3 days before they'd need to be implemented. On that basis, Madam Mayor, I'm afraid that I have to vote against the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'll keep this brief. Councillor Davidson, you have covered so much of what was concerning me. I was the Cabinet member overseeing the introduction of parking charges, and we knew that we wished to support our residents through this. I would just like to say it's very important that, yes, we have a cost of living crisis, and I want to reassure residents that happily local access to high quality green spaces has always been and will remain a priority for this Lib Dem-led City Council, and our Space to Thrive initiatives reconnect us with nature on our doorsteps. This community-focused policy approach will support an extensive network of green spaces which are close to people's homes, spanning the entire City Council area, enriching and connecting wildlife corridors, encouraging and supporting guardianship of the nature on our doorsteps. And through our parks volunteers and education programmes, we are enabling access for all and reducing the need to drive. And I just wanted to add that for people listening, you can find your nearest green spaces and nature pledges and many more active ideas for free activities all year round on the Love Your Chelmsford, Active Chelmsford and Museum of Chelmsford platforms. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Shah.
I'm really disappointed by Councillor Davidson's approach to this motion and politicising it. This is about people and it's about the citizens of Chelmsford. You can laugh. This is about the citizens of Chelmsford to whom this gift was bestowed. And I'm just going to take it back to... I'm going to take it back to the people, and this is what they have had to say, because we have been talking to them over the last number of months about this, and years in fact. There was a petition that you all chose to ignore. Let's remember that. You chose to ignore the voices of Chelmsford. Jane Harvey. I've lived around the area since 1968 and used to visit Highlands regularly with my children, then my grandchildren, but stopped going once parking charges were introduced. Howard Perrin. Parks should be free to enjoy, families squeezed by continuing rises in the cost of living, which, contrary to what you have said, also to do with Ukraine and other national forces that have nothing to do with whichever government was in charge. COVID, Ukraine. The cost of living should have somewhere to take these children, stress-free of costs. Dog walkers, runners, anyone wanting space to enjoy shouldn't be charged for the privilege of visiting land that was given to the people. It should be free all year round. Susan Irene Collins. We live in Writtle and get the local reduced price, but for families and people who want to go there more often during the summer months, it would be a great help as it's expensive to take children out, and this is the perfect place for picnics, bike rides and general summer madness for silly games and laughter. My grandsons love it there, with so much space. We love it for walks on cold days and autumn sunshine. We aren't asking for it to be free all year round. We are asking for the summer holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sherlock.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. In the same period last year, 18th of July to the 30th of August, the income from the car parking at Highlands was just over £77,000, not including season ticket holders. 21,000 cars paid for on-the-day parking. 88% of these daily ticket sales were for non-resident prices, and just 12% were for resident tickets. That's a higher rate of non-resident daily tickets than any other time of the year. The summer holidays are when non-residents visit Highlands Park. Even taking into account that some residents may be buying non-resident tickets, it's very clear that the majority of people parking at Highlands are non-residents of Chelmsford. Unlike Chelmsford residents, they are not contributing through their council tax for the upkeep of this fantastic facility they are enjoying. For residents, the price for parking all day at Highlands is £3.40, and not everyone needs to pay this. You can park without paying before 9 AM and after 6 PM, which is very useful for dog walkers. All blue badge holders receive 3 hours free parking. Anyone on council tax support is entitled to free parking. Frequent visitors can buy a season ticket starting at £65 a year, so residents can pay the equivalent of 23 pence per day to park. The motion also asks why we consider, it also asks whether we will consider the viability of a scheme for free or discounted parking, and I quote, to support Chelmsford Town Centre and local businesses. Weekend parking in the city centre generates approximately 1.8 million per year. There is no direct link between reduced parking fees and increased footfall in urban shopping areas, and the shopping offer is the biggest draw for footfall and not necessarily the cost of parking. I am happy to confirm that parking charges in the city centre are constantly kept under review, and the impact of any changes to parking charges, including free parking. These reviews have so far always concluded that free parking is not appropriate for the reasons I've mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. I wasn't going to speak, but I have to respond to what Councillor Shah said. I mean, now I am speaking. This is an unserious motion from an unserious party. I don't think Councillor Shah actually listened to virtually a word that Councillor Davison actually said, or indeed the other Councillor Davison in her question earlier. The response to Councillor Anne Davison earlier showed the vast array of things that this council is doing to help people on low incomes. The list that was read out in answer to that question is vastly more beneficial than a £3.40 parking ticket in Highlands Park. Highlands was not given to the people, it was not bequeathed to the people, it was bought by this council in 1966. It was left to rot by your party for 17 years. It was my party that put the roof back on in 1986 and made it what it is today. The fact that Highlands is an outstanding building and parkland, Grade 2 listed parkland, is thanks to my party, not yours. And one of your predecessors said the best place for Highlands House is in the foundations of the Writtle bypass. That's what your party thought about Highlands House in the 1980s. We fixed it. Parks are free to enjoy. Every single one of the parks, 17 parks, all of them with green flags. We've got 2 more this week, so we've now got 19 green flags for open spaces. Every single park is free to enjoy. It might not be free to drive to Highlands Park, but it is some of the day, as we've already heard. It is also very cheap if you get a season ticket. And the question, the fundamental question that Councillor Davison posed, which Councillor Shah didn't answer, is why does she want to, or why does Councillor Jeeps' motion want to subsidise non-residents? Because you say you want to help residents of the district, but your motion would help. And as Councillor Davison also said, you can't bring a motion that's due to be implemented 3 days later when it takes 4 weeks to process a traffic regulation order at the minimum. So this is an unserious motion from what is becoming an unserious political party. I thought we could leave unserious stuff to the Reform Party rather than the Conservative Party, which was, as we were saying earlier with Councillor Whitehead, used to be sensible.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Just to further Councillor Robinson's point, this is basically being done in order to get a headline in local press at a slow news time coming up to the summer holidays. If this is really what you'd wanted, then certainly you could have come up with it earlier. I think this is the politics of vote Conservative, win a toaster. So, yeah, I just... this party on this side has taken often pretty difficult decisions since we've been in power, and of course there will have been rumbling and kickbacks, introduction of Highlands charges. There was certainly strong opinions expressed, but it's interesting that then we went back to the people in the next set of elections. We actually increased our majority, and I do think that this sort of short-term populism that we're hearing tonight, it might get you a headline in the short term, but I do think that in the long term it actually adds to the cynicism when people are seen to be playing political games like this, which they must be aware, or should have been aware, can't possibly be implemented in the time frame we have left available.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? So, Councillor Thorpe-Platts, would you like to second the motion?
Yes, please. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I am very pleased to second the motion this evening. I'm going to depart from the very disappointing tone set by Councillor Davison and others, which is disappointing, defensive, and I guess it shows They don't like to be reminded what a big fat mistake Highlands parking charge was in the first place. This was one of those opportunities for cross-party consensus and agreement where we could do something that was genuinely helpful for the residents of Chelmsford. Councillor Davidson, to borrow a golfing phrase, I'm afraid you fluffed it there. I want to emphasise that this was a modest, time-limited and affordable initiative from Councillor Jeeps that would have removed a barrier to one of Chelmsford's best public assets during the busy school holidays. Highlands Park is, as you know, called the jewel in Chelmsford's crown, and I'm sure that you all know it very well. But there's no point having such a jewel if people are deterred from seeing it, locked away in a box that some residents can't afford to open. Or those visitors who do come, who do pay the charge, who are left with a sour taste in their mouth after paying the charge, and given that the other increases in charge and increases in council tax that they're having to pay. We know the profound impacts that being outdoors has on mental health. After the stressful few years that our residents have faced during and following the COVID pandemic, stepping into nature shouldn't be a luxury, it should be a basic part of human maintenance. And indeed, to quote Councillor Moore from a May 2025 City Life article, where she said, "Getting outside has a hugely positive impact on our physical and mental health, and we are lucky to have so many accessible green spaces in Chelmsford." The Council's own parks, green spaces and waterways strategy refers to access to parks and green spaces as being considered a fundamental human right. Now you were saying, and I hear what you're saying, that, well, a lovely idea, but it's too late, we can't fund it. And we, of course, on this side, we recognise the competing demands on council funding. But as Councillor Jeeps has outlined, and there was no engagement with this really in your responses, the rough loss would be 77,000 in revenue over the 6-week period. But that would be massively offset by the extra money that you've made, the 1.24 million in the garden waste fees. So whilst money doesn't grow on trees, it turns out that it does accumulate in the brown bins. This motion requires only a tiny fraction of that surplus from the brown bins. And of course, earlier this year, Councillor Davidson, you noted the improved government funding settlement and the additional income, allowing more money to be invested in community initiatives. What could be a better initiative than one that helps improve the physical and mental health of our residents? And yes, it helps those coming from outside as well. So what? If this motion can be fully funded, and we believe it can, then shouldn't we choose to put our residents first? Put another way, in accordance with data from the Highlands Park Estate Management Plan, we might surmise that Highlands Park would receive over 150 visitors over the period in Councillor Jeeps' motion. Even if we were to accept that that would mean a 50 pence cost per visitor in lost revenue to the council, that would surely, or at least on this side we think it would be a cost worth paying if it benefits our residents. To take you back 5 years, the 2021 rationale for parking charges was mainly the financial pressure caused by COVID. I know that Councillor Davidson wants to blame the government, but this was the COVID pandemic in full swing, including a £5.3 million shortfall at that time. But the financial context, as you know, has changed significantly since then, and the summer suspension is now viable. Most schools are now breaking up for the summer, and anyone with young kids knows how challenging this long break can be for parents. If you don't get them out of the house, then after the first week of the school holidays, your house is basically written off. I take my sons to Highlands Park quite often. They love the forts, they go there to climb and burn off energy, and it really is a lifesaver, and I'm sure many of you are in the same boat, perhaps with grandchildren as well. So on behalf of all parents across the district, please do consider this and keep this as a vital escape valve for us long-suffering parents during the summer holidays. Chelmsford is a relatively affluent part of the country, but we know that many families are struggling with day-to-day costs, and the parking charges can be the final straw. I know you don't think it is, but paying a few pounds to some people is a lot of money and will put them off coming. A number of residents say to me they haven't been back to Highlands since the charges were introduced. I hear this all the time. Wouldn't it be great if everyone felt able to come to Highlands this summer, maybe treat their family to an ice cream or a drink, which they're more likely to do if they haven't already forked out for expensive parking? This initiative would have been a practical benefit to residents in my own ward of Writtle, An unintended consequence, as we all know, of the Highland parking charges is that people park on Paradise Road and they park in the Sports and Social Club car park as well, also on Paradise Road. They do that to dodge the charge. And it's noticeable over the last 5 years how much the road surface on Paradise Road has deteriorated because we've had so many extra people climbing up the curbs and parking there to dodge the charge. And this is particularly acute during the summer periods, the busy periods of Highlands Park. So supporting this motion would have given some respite to Whittle residents. The other thing that I really liked about this initiative was it would have given us some great data. We would have been able to interrogate that data after the summer and seen what the actual impact was on visitor numbers, and was there an increase as well in spending in the local businesses, in the cafes, and how this might inform discussion around future possible free parking schemes, which, as we know, and Councillor Jeeps alluded to it, other councils are exploring. So, to conclude, we all went into local politics, didn't we, to make things better for our local residents. It's hard to think of a more practical initiative than this. As I said, this is a modest, time-limited and affordable initiative that removes a barrier to Chelmsford's jewel-in-the-crown asset. I guess you've been whipped to vote against it tonight, which is disappointing. And residents will see this, of course, for what it is. Nonetheless, I will ask you to vote for it this evening, because I think it's a very good motion. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and I second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jeeps, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I think it's ironic, really, that I'm being accused of political grandstanding. And the first part of Councillor Davidson's speech was a history lesson on economics and what's happened to the country. This was specifically about a gesture for our residents. And when we're talking about its non-residents, what I've had back as a result of this, a lady who for 27 years, a local resident and her friends, using the park regularly, who no longer use it because of the charges, saying that some of the ways of getting a discount, etc., are too complicated for them to enter into, that the timings of when the park is free don't fit in with their lifestyles or what they do. This was not anything other than a gesture that we could afford and that we could give to families, and it's £3.40 a day, but if you have a family, we want to go there more than one day a week. And as for the history, yes, we bought it, but the residents paid for it with their taxes to be renovated and revamped, and yes, it's beautiful. What's been done is stunning. Let's let people enjoy it. Again, I'm cynical now about the introduction of all the play areas, the question that was posed by your own party about what's available for children for free already. Yes, we know that. But this is a very specific thing about a whole day that a family can spend there for nothing, if they like, somewhere they can enjoy, something they have paid for. And as for the figures about whether they're residents or not, I think that's, again, in debate. This was not an attempt to gain votes. What votes are taking place at the moment? None. Not locally, not here. This was about something for local people, and I agree. It was something that we could have been a joint party on. It was something we could have agreed on. Yesterday, we heard we've made more money out of the car parking at Bewley Car Park than we thought we were going to make. That we made some changes because all of a sudden there was more money available. We did it quickly. And as for needing a traffic regulation to cease charges, I don't think that is the case. You need traffic regulations to make charges. If the machine's all broke, you wouldn't charge. You don't need a traffic regulation to stop charging. You only need them to make them. So I'm disappointed at the attitude, because the attitude from this side was a serious attempt at doing something that might add to people's summer holidays, that might ease them through something that is quite a difficult time for them. But clearly we're seeing it's a political grandstanding from that side, certainly not from this side. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Please indicate by raising your hand whether you agree to the substantive motion.
Sorry, can we have it as a named vote, please?
Yes? We need 10 people to do that. 10 people would like to raise their hands. Yes, we have 10.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll run through this as quickly as possible. So can you just let me know if you voted for or against the motion? Councillor Ditcham?
Against.
Councillor Ayres?
Against.
Councillor Bonnet?
For.
Councillor Dan Clark?
Against.
Councillor Hazel Clark?
Against.
Councillor Anne Davidson?
Against.
Councillor Chris Davidson?
Against.
Councillor Davis?
For.
Councillor Dobson? Councillor Dudley?
Against.
Councillor Ely?
Against.
Councillor Franks?
Against.
Councillor Frascona?
Against.
Councillor Fuller?
Against.
Councillor Goldman?
Against.
Councillor Hall?
Against.
Councillor Hawkins?
Against.
Councillor Highland?
Abstain.
Councillor Jeeps?
For.
Councillor John?
For.
Councillor Knight?
For.
Councillor Large?
Against.
Councillor Lee?
Against.
Councillor Manley?
Against.
Councillor Mascott?
Against.
Councillor Massey?
For.
Councillor Moore?
Against.
Councillor O'Brien?
For.
Councillor Rajesh?
Against.
Councillor Robinson?
Against.
Councillor Sampson?
Against.
Councillor Shah? Councillor Sherlock?
Against.
Councillor Andrew Sojan?
Against.
Councillor Janetta Sojan?
Against.
Councillor Steele?
For.
Councillor Sullivan?
For.
Councillor Taylor?
In favour.
Councillor Thompson?
Against.
Councillor Fulpaps?
For.
Councillor Walsh?
Against.
Councillor Young?
Against.
Motion's been lost. Thank you, Chair.
Excuse me. I should have abstained. Can you change my vote to abstain? Thank you. Sorry. Right. I'm not aware of any urgent business. Yes, I need to say that the substantive motion is not agreed. I'm not aware of any urgent business, apart from the urgent business I think some people are waiting to attend to. So that concludes the evening's meeting. However, as members will be aware, the reception for Councillor Whitehead is ongoing, so members and guests are invited to join in the function room. Thank you.